fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
The best stories aren't all talk and no action, all bark and no bite, all huff and no puff, all brawn and no brains, all foam and no beer, all mouth and no trousers, all... Okay, I'm done for now. What I'm saying is a good story balances the 5 key elements of storytelling: action, dialogue, thought or inner monologue, description, and exposition. Action, as I'm sure you're aware, is when characters are physically doing something within the story, such as tickling elderly ladies in the street. Don't tell me that wouldn't be fun. Dialogue is when they're talking out loud. For example, before tickling an elderly lady, a character might say, "It's tickle time." Thought is your viewpoint character's inner monologue, usually written in italics. For example, they might think, "I'm bringing such joy to these tickled old ladies. There's no way I'm stopping anytime soon." Description, I'm sure you'll be surprised to learn, is when you're describing something. An exposition is when you're providing additional narrative information. For example, the two combined could be: the elderly lady in her white floral dress wore a disdainful scowl, but I would soon put a stop to that with my tactful ticklers. When writing fiction, you'll generally use a combination of all 5 elements, especially if you want your story to be compelling and engaging. You do want that, yeah? For the best results, you should take a balanced approach. Even in a dialogue-heavy scene, such as 2 people sitting on a park bench having a conversation about the economy, even that scene will have moments of relevant action. In fact, a scene that dull practically demands it. For instance, a character might be reading economy-related news in a newspaper if the story's set in some old-timey period when newspapers were a thing. At some point, the character might roll up the newspaper and whack the park bench in frustration, as if it were responsible for rising interest rates. Where appropriate, you might describe the characters and the setting. One of them is probably wearing a fedora, the other definitely has a mustache. I don't think you're allowed to discuss the economy without first growing a mustache. The viewpoint character might think something at some point, as people often do. Occasionally, it might be necessary to convey information through explanation, that is, exposition, rather than action or dialogue. Yes, you are allowed to tell when it would be clunky, difficult, or pointless to show. Sometimes we just need to move the story forward. All the different storytelling elements will, or at least should, ebb and flow throughout the narrative, depending on the situation, because no one wants to read a story that's all fart and no turd.